If you're like most coaches on YouTube, you probably think you need more views to get more clients. But the coaches who are actually getting clients right now aren't the loudest ones with the most viral content. They're actually the smaller, quieter creators who are doing a few subtle things that most people don't notice, but bring in clients even with just a few hundred views per video. So I'm going to break down 3 quiet shifts I keep seeing in coaches who consistently turn YouTube into clients, even with small audiences. If you're wondering why your content isn't turning into sales, this will explain why. The first thing these coaches do differently is simple, but most people miss it. They don't talk to an audience full of people. Instead, they talk to one specific person. When most people hear that, they think what I'm saying is they need to niche down because that's what everyone tells you to do. And while niching down is important, it's not what I mean. What I mean is that when these successful coaches hit record, they're not thinking, let me make a YouTube video about fitness. They're thinking, there's one person watching this who's struggling to lose weight and who feels stuck, and I'm talking to them. That mindset changes the way they speak. They don't say things like, hey guys, I know a lot of you might be struggling to lose weight. That's too generic. Instead, they say things like, if you're feeling like no matter how cleanly you eat, you still can't lose weight, I get it. What they're doing is showing that they understand the one person they're talking to. They understand the pain they're currently feeling, the problems they're trying to overcome. And by doing this, they can help solve small but meaningful problems that change everything for the viewer. Because when you talk to an audience, your language becomes very broad. You have to explain things in a way that appeals to everyone. But when you talk to one person, your voice gets calmer, more precise, and more specific. This lets the one person you're talking to feel seen, and that's what builds trust with your audience. It makes them say, holy shit, he's talking to me. This is why you don't need a large audience to get clients. You just need to speak to a small group of people, show you understand them, and build a trust based relationship with them. Let me give you another example. Let's get meta for a second and talk about this video, the one you're watching right now. When I started this video, I could have said, a lot of coaches struggle with turning content into clients because there are many different strategies and approaches to grow an audience. But that's so generic and forgettable. You hear that, you're going to immediately get bored and click on the next video. Instead, I said, if you're like most coaches on YouTube, you probably think you need more views to get more clients. I'm talking about a specific person, you watching this video, and a specific problem that you might be experiencing. Both those versions express the same idea, but the second one builds a much stronger connection with a person, not just an audience. Because remember, your clients are real people. Real people who watched your video, liked you, trusted you, and paid to work with you. So having 100 views from people who connect with you is much more powerful than 100,000 views from people who don't. So if your videos feel like they're getting views but not getting responses, whether that's email signups or booked calls, it's usually not because your advice is bad. It's because you're speaking at people instead of speaking directly to one person who needs to hear it. Now, the second thing coaches who get clients do builds directly on this, and it's where most people really mess it up. The coaches who get clients repeat the same core idea in their videos, but each time they present it from a different angle. If you're always stressing, trying to come up with new things to talk about in your content, let me give you some good news. You can chill. Because repeating the same ideas isn't just okay, it's actually necessary if you want to get clients. Maybe you think, If I repeat myself, people will get bored, so I need new things to talk about. But that's not how building trust works. Not everyone is going to see all your content. Just because someone watched one of your videos and maybe even subscribed doesn't mean they're going to watch your next one. The next video they watch might be 8 videos down the road, and they'll miss everything in between. So even if you've said it before, a lot of people will be hearing it for the first time. And even if they've heard it before, it doesn't mean it registered in their brains, and it doesn't mean they've actually changed their behavior. Hearing it again lets it sink in deeper. I mean, think about how it works in real life. Let's say a friend comes to you because they're stressed about their marriage and they trust you because you give really helpful advice. So maybe last time they came to you because their wife forgot their birthday. But this time, it's because their wife made plans with friends without even checking with them first. Now, on the surface, those are two totally different problems. But as the person they're coming to for help, you can see the pattern. It's not really about the birthday or the plans. The root problem is that they don't feel considered, and that points back to communication. But you're not going to tell your friend, I already told you to communicate better, so I'm not talking about it again. Of course, you wouldn't do that because you don't want to make your friend cry. Instead, you talk through it again. You ask what happened this time. Even if you explain the same core idea and the same solution, you explain it from a slightly different angle so it makes sense in this specific context. Even if it's the same root problem, you're showing them a different path to the solution. That's exactly what these coaches who get clients are doing with their content. They're not teaching 10 different ideas. They're teaching one or two core ideas over and over until people finally get it. But most creators make the mistake of doing the opposite. Imagine giving relationship advice where every conversation starts in a different place. One day you're talking about communication. The next day it's boundaries, then attachment styles, then self-worth. Now, don't get me wrong, all of those topics matter. But to the person watching, it feels like they're starting from scratch every time. They're left wondering, which one of these is actually my real problem? The coaches who get clients don't avoid these topics. They anchor all of them to one core problem. So whether they're talking about communication, boundaries, or attachment styles, it all comes back to the same thing. For example, when someone forgets your birthday, that's a communication issue. When they make plans without checking with you, that's a boundaries issue. When you're constantly anxious about where you stand, that's an attachment issue. But underneath all of it, the real problem is the same. You don't feel considered. And because that core problem stays consistent, every video feels connected. The viewer doesn't feel like they're jumping between ideas. They feel like they're finally understanding their situation more clearly. Now, when you combine these first two things, talking to one person and repeating the same idea consistently, something interesting starts to happen. Your content stops feeling scattered. You build a reputation in your space, and people start to recognize you as an authority figure they trust. Now, the third shift is what turns that trust into actual conversations and clients. It's where most coaches completely sabotage themselves. Maybe you think that YouTube videos are supposed to convince someone to buy your coaching. So you try to use content to explain your program, justify the price, or prove why it's worth it. But that's not what the best performing coaches are doing. They're not using content to sell the offer. They're using content to help someone make a decision. And there's a big difference between the two. Because by the time someone is ready to reach out or book a call with you, the real question in their mind isn't which coach should I choose? It's, Am I ready to take this seriously and commit? But most people watching your videos are still undecided about themselves. They're unsure if now is the right time, or if they'll follow through, or if they're even capable. So, when your content starts telling people about your program, your framework, or how to work with you, it creates pressure in their mind, even though you're trying to give them clarity. The coaches who get clients do the opposite. Their content slowly walks someone through the internal decision first. For example, imagine a marriage coach making content. They're not using their videos to explain their program or tell you to book a call. Instead, they describe moments like this. You're sitting on the couch next to your partner, scrolling on your phone. Nothing is technically wrong, there wasn't a fight, but you realize you haven't actually talked in days, not about anything real. And part of you wonders how long it's been since you felt like a team instead of roommates. Would you tell yourself this is just a phase? Or would you want to try and improve the relationship? Notice how big of a difference that is from saying, here's my 12-week marriage program, book a call to fix your relationship. All they did was help someone see a moment in their own life more clearly. And once someone recognizes themselves in that moment, a quiet decision starts forming. Your viewers will say to themselves, I don't want this to be normal. And they'll look for the next step all on their own. So, if this video landed for you, here's a simple question I want you to sit with. Who is the one person your content is actually for? And what's the one core idea you're trying to communicate? And if you want to make this real, let me know your answer in the comments. Even if it's not perfect, I'd love to hear how this video helped you think about your content. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts.